Hey guys, I'm sat in a vehicle freezing my buttocks off on a lovely but cold wintry day because I want to talk to you about upgrading your charging ports on an older vehicle. Now, this is a electric ENV200 and it has a very old single USB charging port to charge all your peripheries. And of course, as time goes on, the peripheries get more and more power hungry, more and more technically capable, but we have to still keep charging them. So you can't be taking forever to charge up those items, and I need to do an upgrade. So for anybody who's got an older vehicle, whether it's electric or internal combustion engine, this is going to help you. So let's take a look at the existing port. So I'm not going to actually be replacing the stock USB port, which is the bottom right-hand one. It's probably only a 1.2 amp or 2.4 amp port, but there's a much easier solution. That's the top right port, which is in fact a cigarette lighter, and you could just pop that out and push a new cigarette lighter charger in there. And that one there you can see says 2.4 amps, and on the side of the unit it actually says the output of 5 volts. So 5 times 2.4 gives you a 12 watt output. Now, modern laptops will be running at about 65 watts, and a modern smartphone probably at about 30 watts. So we really want to upgrade this so we can charge it in a decent amount of time. However, there is something you should be careful of, and that is charging too many peripheries for a long period of time when your vehicle is off. Now, that applies to electric or petrol, because in the older electric vehicles, apart from the very recent ones, they all actually use a 12-volt lead-acid starter battery, just like a normal internal combustion engine. So there is a chance you'll run your 12-volt battery flat and won't be able to start your vehicle. So you've got to be really careful of that. Modern standards for USB-C, at least, for power delivery can go up to 240 watts. But in these cigarette lighters, the maximum you can draw is 100 watts. But in any case, you've got to be careful. Make sure you turn your van on from time to time so the van or the vehicle has a chance to charge your 12-volt battery from your lithium ion or from your internal combustion engine. Otherwise, you will drain that really quickly. Okay, so let's take a look online at what is available in terms of these more upgraded chargers. Guys, I know what you're thinking. You just want to buy a charger and get on with your life. It's just a cigarette lighter charger, right? But the problem is there's so many people online complaining about these things because they feel like they've been missold, or the thing doesn't perform as they expect. And a lot of that is down to the fact that people are misrepresenting. There's a lot of shysters out there. They're misrepresenting the actual ability of these chargers. They're doubling up the power, pretending it's one thing when it's not capable of that. And then people are sorely disappointed. So it's worth just having a quick listen and save yourself a lot of bother, and you can get the best product possible. So, first of all, let's just understand the standards quickly. So you've got PD power delivery, right? That's what PD stands for. You'll see it on the ports. You'll see it only on the USB-C ports, and that can currently go up to 240 watts. But on a cigarette charger, you're only going to get up to about 100 watts max. Then we go over to the other standard, which is Quick Charge QC. You'll see that QC written on the charger. And that can go up to 100 watts. But again, on the cigarette lighter chargers, you're only going to see a maximum of 36 watts. So starting off with probably the best one on the market currently by Ugreen. And this actually has a genuine 100 watt port on it, USB-C. Now, I strongly advise you scroll down and delve into the specs to make sure you're getting what you think you're getting. So when you actually read it here, you see this little part here, PD 100 watts, so that's that port there at the bottom. Then you've got PD 30 watts, so that's the USB-C port at the top. And then you've got SCP. Now, why? That's another term I don't understand, but I do know it's the USB-A port in the middle, which is only 22.5 watts. Now, you won't necessarily get 152 watts if you had 3 things plugged in. In fact, I can almost guarantee you won't. Again, you'll have to scroll down. See, look, it says a total output of 130 watts. So you might be able to charge something in there and something in there, but then if you had something in the middle one, you wouldn't get anything at all. Or it will balance it out between all 3. They do usually have charts. So make sure you read that carefully. Here's an example of where they are misrepresenting the product. So they are saying that this can do 90 watts, but it can't. It can only do 30 watts at a time. I'm pretty sure anyway, because you can see there each of those ports is 30 watts, but just check that. A lot of them will say, for example, 60 watts total output. When you actually see the product and it arrives on your doorstep, it actually says 30 watts max, and each port is 30 watts. I hope that's clear. Right, another type you can buy is a little flush one like this, and that's great, but beware that that's highly likely to be very low power. The reason being because when you get one like this with a big bulbous head, that's where all the extra power is coming from. It needs that extra space to be able to generate that power. Little flush ones like this are going to be very low power. So this is, again, probably 30 watts max at a time. So you might be able to get 30 watts out of one port, but nothing out the other. And then you've got this type, which has an on-off switch. Now, the reason I've highlighted this one is because there have been some people complaining that these devices are draining their 12-volt lead-acid battery, killing their car when there's nothing even plugged into them. Now, either that is because it's faulty or because it's poorly designed, one way or the other. So I thought I'd look at one of these because at least you then know it's turned off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to order one of these and one of these, and then we'll see how it goes. So the two devices arrived and got them here side by side with the original one. So the original one, as you can see, is 2.4 amps. But on the side of the unit it actually says what voltage it is, which is 5 volts. So the 5 times 2.4 is 12 watts. And you compare that to the central one, which is 36 watts max from the QC, or 30 watts PD. And then on the far right one, we've got USB-C 1, which comes in at 30 watts, USB-A, which is 22.5 watts, and USB-C 2, which is 100 watts. The benefit, of course, of the middle one, as I said, is it's got an on-off switch, whereas the one on the far right is just way more powerful. So we're going to test all those out. The cables are pretty much just as important these days, and I made the mistake before I bothered figuring out the difference between cables and buying the one on the right, which is only 18 watts, and so it will make a huge difference to the amount of power that can be transmitted. The one on the left, which comes with the Ugreen charger, is 100 watts. Okay, so we're back in my vehicle, and we're going to test out the phone and the laptop on the charger. So we've got the original charger plugged back in. Let's give that a little test. So we're going to turn it on. And we'll see that it's saying 28% battery, an hour and 13 until full. So let's pull that, and we want to plug that into the laptop now, which I'm almost certain is going to do nothing. Although I don't really understand this. I thought, please put in the comments below if you understand this better than me, but I thought the whole idea with USB-C was that anything that was powered by USB-C could be powered by any charger, so long as it would just reduce the charging rate. So even though it's only 12 watts and this is a 65 watt laptop, it would charge it. But I can clearly see there, but it is not charging at all. So that's nil point for the old one. Let's change it over to the next charger. So this is now my 36 watt connector. But of course, I've only got an 18 watt cable. So let's take out the old one, pop in the new one. But it still should charge at 18 watts if it's going to charge my laptop at all. Okay, and we can see there that it's not doing anything. Okay, so now we will swap it over to the phone. Then we can see that it's now charging, so in 50 minutes until full on 27%. So faster, obviously. Okay, and now I've got it plugged in with the 100 watt cable, so there should be no limitations whatsoever, into the 30 watt. So even if it was in the 36 watt, I guess I was wrong about that. So if you have a charger that is a lower rating than your laptop, then it's not going to work. But I'm sure I read somewhere that it just charges a bit slower. Clearly it doesn't work in this case. So we've got, as I say, a 100 watt cable going into a 30 watt output power delivery socket, and it's not charging my laptop. So Let's now try it with the phone. Okay, and that's saying 28%, so obviously that's, and 32 minutes instead of 50 minutes, so obviously that's another improvement. So it's charging that at 30 watts. Okay, watch this, ladies and germs. I've got the 100 watt cable into the 100 watt socket. I'm about to plug it in. And there you go. That, you follow that cable, you can see it is working. Let's see what sort of juice we can get out of this for my phone as well. Okay, and there you can see 28 minutes until full. Super fast charging on the 100 watt charge with a 100 watt cable. Now, I guess you know, if you just followed the marketing gumph and seen that it was 100 watts, thought, oh yeah, that's amazing, that's super powerful, I'll buy that one, then you would have been right, because it's the only one I've found that actually charges my laptop. But there's plenty of others out there that label themselves as 100 watts and they don't have a 100 watt outlet, so you do have to be careful with that. Now, the other thing to consider, as I've said, is that this is being powered off of the 12 volt battery. Now, the reason I bought this one was because it's got an on-off switch. So if you watch when I turn the vehicle on, you see that power switch goes on. Now I can turn it off and on. But in all reality, if the vehicle's on now and the charger is on, and I turn off the vehicle, so the vehicle is completely off now, and that power button can't do anything. So I still don't know whether or not that's drawing any power. So it's no different to the other one, the more powerful Ugreen one. Okay, from that angle you could probably just about see the blue tint of the LED. It's quite hard with the flash on, but the blue light comes on when it turns on. And that will tell you that obviously it's on and drawing power, but when it's off, there's no power going to it at all. But there is a worry that it is drawing current. And the only way to do that is to put something in line. So you'd get a 12 volt cigarette extension socket, which I'll show you an image of now. You cut the positive wire and then put a multimeter in between the two cut positive cables. Plug this in the end without any USB sockets or cables inside plugged into it, and just see if it draws any current. But from what I've discussed this online with other EV owners, and you know, this applies to any vehicle, whether it's EV or combustion engine. It's such a minuscule draw that unless you left it for literally for months, it's not going to do anything. There are other things in your system, like the alarm, the immobilizer, things like that are drawing far more power from the 12 volt battery than this when it's not on, if you see what I mean. So what I'm trying to say is the purpose of this button is pretty much null and void. So what's the conclusion of all this? Do your research. When you see a product, just check through the specs, make sure it does what it says on the tin. I would strongly recommend you, with power hungry devices like laptops and phones, if you want to charge your laptop and phone, you're going to need at least one port that's 100 watts, and make sure your cable is also 100 watts. So this Ugreen one is probably one of the best ones out there. There are probably some other very similar ones, but you have to spend a bit more money. Anyway, guys, I hope this was useful for you and help you upgrade your vehicle without having to actually upgrade your whole vehicle. If you liked it, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'll be making more videos all about EVs, sustainability, fixing things, permaculture, and so on. So we'll see you on the next one. Cheers, bye.